All right, YouTube, recruiters, software engineers, whoever it is that's watching this video, you know what it is. It's the Deacon. We got another interview from Joshua Fluke here. I'm going to go ahead and skip his intro because you're already dealing with mine. I don't need you to see two of them. But before anything, please go ahead and like the video and comment on it. Even if you just spaz out on the keyboard and just say some nonsense, it'll help me, and that blessing will come right back to you. So don't be stingy. Let's get
The
it.
things you think about while you're waiting for an interview. I think it's better if you think about random things than you start getting too much in your head. This is the thing, like Floyd Mayweather, for example, right? He is notorious for kind of just sitting on the couch watching the game before he has a big fight. A lot of people are like, aren't you nervous? Aren't you scared? Like, why aren't you prepping? He's like, look, I've either put in the work or I haven't. And the results will show for themselves. I'm gonna start working on my video here in a minute. If he doesn't call me.
I like that.
Now, 11:23. See what the dealio is.
Mayweather fan, Josh. That is the truth, though. Right before a match or an interview or something, if you're freaking out right before, you probably didn't prep. You didn't prep well enough, or you're just not good enough, and you know it. So why stress out 5 minutes before an interview or a basketball game, football game? I don't know, performance. I mean, you didn't. If you didn't put the work in,
Hey,
that's
yeah.
on you.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Not too bad. Everything good with the other guy?
Good. Yeah, good now. Had someone was scheduled to start, but we got to make sure we had some things in place for him, so it took a little bit longer than expected. So thanks for some flexibility. Wanted to touch base with you. I've got your LinkedIn profile and your resume pulled up. Wanted to get a sense for your current situation and what you might be looking for out of your next role, see if we have anything that aligns.
So, as far as tech stack, I'm open to pretty much everything that's on my resume, and I say that because I've done a lot of different web development technologies. I'm not really language specific, so to speak, but more about, let's use what works. So as far as like what tech stack I absolutely have to have, I'm pretty open. That's not a huge deal to me.
What would you say you're the best at?
Probably JavaScript and PHP.
Okay. JavaScript, PHP. And how many years overall would you say you have with both of those?
3.
3 years. Okay. And what type of projects are you working on currently?
So I'm a part-time code teacher. On weekends, teach code to people. And the current position is a C#.
This is like the third video when someone asks what you're doing, what are you working on? He leads with teaching code. To me, that sounds like, so you're unemployed right now and you're doing like a side gig, or I gotta see, like maybe he just edits all
JavaScript
that
and
out.
PHP.
Let me check this out.
And how many years overall would you say you have with both of those?
3.
3 years. Okay. And what type of projects are you working on currently?
So I'm a part-time code teacher. On weekends, teach code to people.
Can't tell because there is a cut there, but I mean, if I'm a software developer, I'm not leading with that. I mean, I know this sounds harsh, but we don't care about you teaching code, really. There's a difference between teaching code and building a web service for a business that is making profit and all those things. Capitalism. We don't care about teaching. I mean, I've spoken to developers that teach and stuff like that, but that typically doesn't get uncovered until later on in the conversation, where it's just kind of like, all right, what are your interests? What are you interested in? What are things that you're passionate about? I like to teach code. Okay, you know what? The level of skill that you have, that you, from what I could tell, of what you told me and what you're doing, it's cool that you like to teach. It shows me you like to mentor people, mentor junior developers or whatever. But if that's what you're leading with, I'm telling you, the switch goes off in our head like, shit.
And the current position is a C# position. It's like a sandbox software for nonprofits. It's a pretty small dev team, just about 4 people.
It looks like you're working on front-end development. What does the project entail?
So
Thank you, recruiter. Finally, I haven't heard. We'll see how this goes, but I haven't heard a recruiter yet ask Josh not not what languages. I mean, he asked what languages you're using and stuff like that, but follow that up with, okay, so then what are you doing with those languages? What type of projects you working on? Stuff like that. Let's see. Good job, recruiter.
title is front end developer, but it's more like full stack. So I'm doing I'm doing some jQuery, vanilla JavaScript. I'm writing C sharp, backend. I'm doing SQL. I'm
But
pulling up
what's the
reports,
project?
SSRS reports. It's more than front end. I think that was just the title that they gave me when they initially brought me on, and I said I was open to learning more.
All right, recruiter, don't let him off the hook. I mean, you didn't answer the question. What type of projects you working on? Yeah, CSS, HTML, but you're not explaining your day to day, like what your input is within the company that pays you to work, unless it was edited out. But if that's not the case, hopefully this recruiter doesn't let him off the hook. Like in these cases, I would say, okay, thank you for that clarity. But what are you working on? You know, don't let him off that easy now.
And they just let me do that.
Okay. As far as your role now, looks like you've been there about a year or so. What's got you open to considering opportunities?
The tech stack is antiquated. It's old version of .NET, and mainly I just want to grow, get some more responsibility, use state-of-the-art technology.
He let him off easy.
Reason, wanting to stay current and kind of being on the cutting edge of things. From a position standpoint, I'm assuming you're in a full-time role right now?
Yeah.
Okay. And are you open to considering like contract to hire positions, or do you need to stay direct?
It depends on the company. I guess how that would work is I would work for you and your company for X amount of months and then get pulled onto the company.
Yeah.
Consulting.
Yeah, typically the way most of our 6-month contract to hire models work, you have a correct to start with. You would be a W-2 employee. So we would essentially be your HR and your payroll. You would just be working.
Okay. Wherever this dude is working, my first job as a recruiter was this exact thing. Let's say it's you're contracting at Microsoft. You more or less are an employee at Microsoft. You're in those meetings, you're using their logins and stuff like that. The only thing that is not Microsoft is who actually puts the money in your account, who handles your HR and your benefits. Microsoft pays a large lump sum to this staffing company, and then the staffing company takes a cut and handles the rest, all the HR stuff.
One of our clients reporting to managers at one of our clients, with the goal of getting you converted to a full-time employee. A lot of my clients use that 6-month period to, from their standpoint, it's an advantage because they get to try before they buy. Same thing goes with you. So even if you're in a 6-month contract to hire situation, you're not obligated to convert unless you want to. Another advantage for you is that while you're on contract, you get paid for every hour you work. So versus the salary, if you're billing out, just say 80,000 per year, and you're putting in 50, 60 hours per week, you're getting the same paycheck every other week. Whereas when you're on contract, you put in 50, 60 hours, you're going to get paid for every single hour that you put in. We do have benefits as well. So while you're on contract, you would have access to medical, dental, vision insurance, all while working, towards the pursuit of being converted. And most of our clients, they typically just use the 6-month contract to hire window as a way to spread out the placement fee over the course of 6 months. So they can bring you on quicker and have us take care of all the billing and all the administrative stuff until they're ready to say, okay, we've got budget for this full-time role. Let's go ahead and convert you.
So yeah, essentially you are an employee of that client, but the staffing company has to deal with the W-2 tax, onboarding, benefits. If you're terrible at your job, they have to be the ones to initiate the performance plan or firing you, things like that.
They can do that at any point in time as well. So if you go in and just exceed expectations and they know they're going to want you right away, they can convert you after the first day if they wanted to. And from a compensation standpoint, where does W at at now, and where are you looking to be at?
So case-worthy right now, about 80, and I think since I have such a history with JavaScript, I could probably go somewhere in the mid-90s, maybe 100.
Okay. Gives me a good range. What I want to do, let me take a look at some of the positions that I've got that are going to align with what you're currently doing and what your top skill sets are. Give me a little bit to get those put together, and I'll send them out, and we can start talking about each one and see which ones we want to move forward with.
Okay. I did have one question about the converting from contract to hire. What's the rate
Sure.
where they say, no, thank you?
Good question.
So it's based off of 1,040 hours. So they can convert you at any point in time. It's really just a sliding scale in terms of their direct hire. The closer they get to 6 months worth of work, the less that they're going to have to pay. And ultimately, when you knock out 1,040 hours, they can convert you at any point in time. But as far as them, saying this isn't the right fit, we want to get rid of Josh, that's really up to the manager, and they can do that at any point in time, just like they could if you were a permanent employee.
It's pretty direct.
Sure. I was just wondering if that happens often. I've never done contract to hire. I just know how it works. I was just curious what the statistics are. Like, out of 10 people, how many?
Yeah, he didn't understand the question. He wants to know what is the likelihood of being converted to full-time versus after those 6 months, it's like, all right, we're done.
Don't actually get pulled on full-time.
Good question.
Maybe 10 to 15% of the time, and a lot of it is because that person really is not a fit, or something else comes up and the person leaves. So just like they can, terminate your performance, and any company can terminate your performance, you also have the flexibility if something comes up on the permanent side that you can leave as well. We just ask for the courtesy of a 2-week notice.
Because that is the case. Full-time or contract, if you're not good at your job, that's how it works. You get fired. So what difference does it make? I know it makes a difference, but I mean, I'm on contract now for my current job.
Companies don't want to be hiring. They want to have somebody that is in the seat and functioning well. So for the most part, the roles that we see, the people that don't last in the 6-month contract to hires or even in the permanent roles are the ones that go in and just aren't cutting it.
So I guess
and that's why we'd help minimize that by us being in constant contact with you while you're on contract, as well as speaking to your manager, making sure that you have what you need to be successful.
As far as like flexibility goes in the companies that you have, do you have any that are like open to, or like have remote days, or are they all in office? I mean, you may not know off the top of your head, but just if you know.
It's going to be company specific. There's not a blanket model that I can say these types of companies do remote. For the most part, you're going to be looking at and plan on being on site full time. I do have some companies, like we've got one up in downtown Salt Lake, that every Thursday the entire dev team works remote. So each company is going to be unique. They are going to have some flexibility in things.
He knows his stuff.
A doctor's appointment or something urgent comes up, so they're going to allow for stuff like that. But if it's something that's like reoccurring every single week, they're not going to do that.
Okay, so I guess I have another question. Based off of what you can see off my resume, my experience, what kind of compensation would you be looking at trying to place me towards?
Ooh. Okay. It's getting real. Because Josh knows the game here. He knows how it works. He knows that they kind of set the rate and everything. And if it's $90,000 that Josh ends up getting, the client is most likely, just to throw a number out there, they're paying like 120 or something like that. So I like the way he phrased the question here. Josh is kind of asking, based on my experience, at what rate would you push me through at? He's letting him know I know that you make that decision here. So let's talk numbers and let's not fuck around.
Based off of your resume, we're going to be targeting, and you kind of already mentioned it already, anywhere from like 80 to 95K. That's what I'm seeing right now for someone with about 3 years of solid professional experience. Outside of that would really just be, company specific, but just in general, that's probably a pretty good target range where you're at now, up to about 95K is what I'm seeing. Yeah, give me a little bit to put together some job descriptions for you to send over, and once I get those out, we'll talk about it and see which ones look good, and
after saying all of that, I've been asked before by candidates, okay, so on that range, what if the company is paying, is if what if their rate is much higher? Does my rate go up higher now too? And I'll be honest, when I was kind of newer in recruiting, I had no fucking clue how to answer that question. And I most likely vomited at the mouth and maybe made up some bullshit, unfortunately. So, if anyone's watching this and if you did this today or if you're going to do it tomorrow, consider just being transparent there. If this is the rate that we talked about and it works for you, why don't we just keep it at that? You may save the client some money here, and that might make them want to hire you over someone else who might be more experienced. So, capitalism at its finest.
All right. What's the estimated time from interview to placement usually? I know company specific, but
you're probably, yeah, and then part of that's going to depend on the client. I've got some that'll interview next day and make a decision. Each of those, like we're running into some managers that are already taking holidays, pay them off, so it's going to be, on a case by case basis. But I would say in general, you're probably about a week or so in the interview process. So most clients will do a two-step, like a phone interview and then an in-person interview. And that usually takes about a week. And then from there, if you need to give notice where you're at, you're looking at 2 weeks before you start. So I'd say it's about 2 to 3 weeks overall.
All right.
Some are certainly quicker than that. Some are right on that time schedule.
Definitely seems like a more senior recruiter. He's got his shit pretty tight.
Right. I know you guys have like direct contact with the hiring manager usually, so it's a lot quicker. We don't have to go through HR. You just place it right on the desk of the hiring manager, and so it's like, here you go. We've already talked to him. We vetted him. So I was just curious what that timeline looked like.
Okay, perfect. I'll get some things put together and send your way.
All right. Thanks so much, man.
You bet. Thanks, Josh.
Yep. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
I mean, overall is like I said, yeah, I think that was a recruiter that's been doing this for a good while. I'd say not much bad to say about that recruiter, to be honest. All the questions that Josh asked, he answered very clearly and directly. Didn't dance around or sugarcoat anything. Good call. Let's see what Josh has to say.
I think I was actually he was pretty chill, and sounds like has some good intentions. The thing with these types of recruiters are what I've talked about previously. You'll be working for the recruiter. They'll be charging the company $100 an hour, and they'll be paying you probably $70 an hour, right? So they're just scraping off the top.
Damn, did he say 30?
And you heard of this. It's based off 1,040 hours of work that the client has to pay for to the recruiting agency in order for them to satisfy their debt with the recruiter, basically. So 1,040 hours priced at whatever salary I say, and they can manage to negotiate plus 10, 20%. And that's what the company has to pay in order to satisfy their debt with the contractor. That's where you are. You're just this little pawn that's just like, hey, I'm here, I have a job, and they're kind of working around you. But that's the job. That's how they put food on the table. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, but hold on a second. I know the intent for these videos is to like warn his fellow developers on those that want to, undercut you and screw you or whatever. But I mean, let's not be so negative here. I mean, it is still a job you want. It is still a job that is going to help the growth of your career and your resume and things like that. This is my whole motivation for these videos, talking about both Josh or developers or candidates and the recruiters. It doesn't have to be a win-lose situation all the time. You don't have to go into these calls thinking either I'm going to win or they're going to win. It can be a win-win as long as everyone communicates and is transparent, everyone is clear about what they want, and everyone kind of cuts the bullshit. So we'll just stop it there. But this is the whole point here. I'm trying to get these videos out to whoever, developers, recruiters. This could be helpful. I know for me watching these videos, it helps me. So once again, if you know any recruiters, send them this video, send them the channel, like the video, comment on the video, help me out. Get the algorithm pushing, man. The goal here is, I want to get these numbers up. Eventually, I want to be able to have like open discussions on here. I'd like to bring some developers maybe that I work with and have an open conversation. Tell me about some of the things that you don't like that recruiters do. Um, I can throw it right back, and you know what I hate when what you motherfuckers do, the same type of shit. But other than that, peace and love. The Deacon out.